Hello you guys, this is Rachel Kirkland, the Modern Shaman, and welcome to my YouTube channel. You are here, so you are purposed to be here for some reason. I believe that everything works that way, so if you are with me now, there's purpose in us connecting. Okay, I'm just going to jump right into the video question. I will say, if you are new to me or want to find out more about this channel or about my Facebook community, about having sessions with me, about my workshops that I teach that you can join in on online or in person, just visit my website. Everything is there. It's the hub for all things The Modern Shaman. And the website is themodernshaman.net. Okay, so here's the question for today. I'm reading it from my little, I set up this station here so I can, I'm going to mess up my station, but it's on my little notepad. I know you couldn't see that, but. Okay, it says, "Hi Rachel, hello. I really enjoy your thorough yet pragmatic explanations. Finding you on YouTube has been a blessing. Thank you." Beautiful. That makes me happy. It's the purpose of me doing these. Okay, so my question is, does our soul reincarnate as the full soul that was in the last incarnation, or does it somehow divide? Also, can you explain soul fragmentation, please? So these are actually two different things. Soul fragmentation that you ask about, let's hit that one first, okay? And then I'll go into soul retention, which is kind of like how much of our soul do we bring into each incarnation. So I'm going to try and go about this with a pragmatic approach, since you mentioned that you like that kind of approach, because we could go at it from a lot of different layers. So soul fragmentation, let's talk about that first. That term is similar or can kind of be used interspersed with the term soul loss, okay? And this idea within the shamanic community is viewed as a type of disassociation of energy, okay? So if we explain it in terms, I just hit my tripod. Sorry guys. Sorry. I'm such a mover. I always move around on these things, and I want to cross my legs and then I kick the tripod. I gotta be very still. I need to learn how to do newscaster mode, where they just are totally straight. I'm learning. Okay, so back to it. Soul fragmentation is similar to, or can be, what is that term I'm looking for? When a word can be interchangeably used with soul loss. And in the shamanic community, this term soul loss, or needing a soul retrieval, is when you go through something very traumatic, something difficult. And because it is such a traumatic event, our energy fragments off or disassociates, makes itself smaller, breaks off, and part of us essentially goes out of body, goes into another dimensional space, goes into another layer of the earth, middle realm, lower realm. I have an itch in my eye. See, this is stuff that obviously a newscaster wouldn't do that. But my eye itches, so I'm gonna itch my eye. Oh gosh. Anyways, so when we are going through those times, it is very common as humans. Y'all hear my kitty cat? You got something to say? She gets so talkative during these videos. She's right at the door, meow, totally going off. Okay, anyways, I am gonna get serious and talk about this. When we go through trauma, it is our natural energetic state to fragment. This is also, like I said, called disassociation. And in the psychiatric world, there is actually, this is part of how your personality splits, okay? It's the same reasoning or explanation, and this is where disorders such as multiple personality disorder or disassociation disorder has come from, this idea of fragmenting off aspects of us that are simply too traumatic to carry, too much of an energetic burden to carry. Now, in chemistry, if we want to get really pragmatic and scientific, this is described as disassociation. When a molecule basically fragments itself, makes itself smaller, splits itself, it is the process of disassociation, of breaking a molecule into its smaller pieces. And that's essentially what we're doing on an energetic level. Our energy is dealing with something that's too dense, too heavy, too overwhelming to handle. And so on that energetic level, our energy fragments, okay, and goes to these other realms that are safe as kind of a holding space for those aspects of the self. Now, with soul retrieval, that's the purpose of it in the shamanic community. If you've heard of that term or you've heard of that type of healing, the purpose is to go to those realms, get or access those aspects or those fragments of the self that have been disassociated, okay, or fragmented, bring them back to the soul and assimilate them back, okay, and that is a type of healing in terms of a soul retrieval. Now, the other thing that you asked about that we'll talk about is not quite the same thing, and I would call that more of a soul retention, okay? How much of our soul is retained from incarnation to incarnation, or how much do we bring into our body, okay? And that varies from incarnation to incarnation based on the level of light, the level of material, like carbon-based form, density in each material or manifested form. Okay, some manifested forms, which includes our cognition, our brain stem, all of the materialized aspects of a human body. Some are more dense in form than others. Some have more light encoded into the body. And so some are able to maintain more of their essence than other forms. Okay, now we're aware of this before we come into form. We're fully aware of the capabilities of where our body starts. And of course, we're ever evolving. And so we're able to upgrade our light body, to integrate more light, to bring in, just by upping our vibrational frequency, more and more light. But essentially, when you come into form, when we choose form, there are aspects, there are parts of our energy that simply cannot all come in at once. Okay, literally, our human form is too fragile for that amount of vibrational light. Okay, it would be like an atomic bomb. In the basics of just like fission energy or nuclear bomb, if you know anything about it, basically the idea is that they've created a structure that is loaded in, an atomic, in a container that is loaded with whatever, whether it's uranium or plutonium or whatever they're loading it with, up into its critical mass. Right, and then something, when it goes off, is added to it that pushes it just above critical mass and it blows up. Okay, so there are elements to our physical body, just the molecules, the molecular structure that's created within a human form, that literally can only hold a certain amount of mass. Otherwise, we get to our critical mass point. And then this is when the body transfigures, like the transfiguration of Jesus, or those within history that have transfigured or turned into light, have literally bursted out of the human form and are no longer a human form. They've transfigured into light. And so it's been pushed one step beyond what a human form can hold. So when we come into human form, we have to, in essence, leave part of our energy in the other realms, okay, for physical safety of what a human body can handle. There's molecular limits to it. Now, like I said, we are constantly evolving and upgrading, and so we are bringing in more light as our light body and our human body are integrating more and more so. But just for the sake of your question, how much we bring in is determined kind of by the purpose of what we came here to do, what our physical body can handle in terms of light body integration. And there's a science to it as well. Like I said, our molecular structure, how much our physical form can handle. So there are aspects of the self, the higher self, our guides, those on the other side, our celestial bodies that remain constantly in a no-time space, in the infinite realms, and we have constant access to them, okay? That is us, in essence. And this is the paradox also with spirit, is that, let me see how to say this. What you are, your essence, is always complete. There's no fragmentation to what you are, okay? But when we try to express into form, we choose an individuated kind of point of focus. And this is what a human body looks like. Now, we always have access to our sense of being that is all, beyond space and time, that is, like I said, ever and always complete. This is what you truly are. And yet, when we move into a form of expression, when we label, when we define, when we identify or have an identity, we move into a more precise focus of that energy. And it doesn't mean that it is not also at the same time the fullness of all that it is. Okay? This, you have to stretch here because again, this is not linear. It's not a linear explanation. I gave you the linear explanation first. This is the more metaphysical explanation, that we at all times have access to our state of being, our true essence that is always complete. And yet also, in terms of our singular expression, we can be at the edge of a pin, the edge of that fragmentation point, and look like a human expression. Okay, it doesn't mean we are not also all the other things. And yet, just to utilize a point of expression, we come into this particular form. So all those aspects of the self, all the other incarnations, all the wisdom gained in those incarnations, all of the fullness of your sense of self, higher, lower, all aspects of the multidimensional body are always accessible. They're not always relevant, okay? So they may not come through or channel through or have a sense of needing to be present in your life at all times. But they are always accessible because in essence you are always complete. What you are, your essence, is always in completion. And yet through that pointed aspect of expression, we fragment off in essence. So I hope that made sense. I kind of went about it different ways, and we talked about two different things of, like I said, soul fragmentation as well as soul retention from lifetime to lifetime. I love you guys. Mwah! Stay tuned next week. I release one of these every Friday, so it's fun to stay up and stay connected. Blessings.